Welcome to the Rockport Select Board meeting for Monday, May 24th, 2021. We're still operating under the rules of the pandemic, and this is by Zoom. We have everyone here tonight except for Denise, who is not able to make it. And the first item on the agenda is to convene executive session. If somebody would like to make that motion. Okay, I will move that we go into executive session pursuant to 1 MRS section 405 6E to discuss a legal matter.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All right, Michelle,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
So just give us a minute for Bruce to shut off the.
Okay, thanks. Having returned from executive session, the first item on the agenda now is the town manager's report / update. Bill?
Yep, so I'm not going to go over my written report. That's been available for everyone. I will touch base on some additional items that I don't have in the written report that have come up since I wrote that last Tuesday or Wednesday. First of all, the Route 1 sewer project pre-construction meeting happened last Friday with 15 or 16 attendees or so, both virtually and in person. Just to give you a quick update, and I will send out the minutes for that meeting to the board so you can see them, so you have the full minutes. Substantial completion of the project is expected to take 210 days. Final completion is supposed to be 240 calendar days. The sewer installation will begin first, and that's supposed to begin to the mid to end of June or early July, finishing by early September. At which time in September they expect to do to begin putting in the water main installation and continue that until the seasonal deadline for pavement. They do expect that they'll pick it back up in the spring. They'll break for the winter and pick it back up in the spring and finish up whatever they need to do. The pump stations currently have long lead times for materials, as we're seeing with everything else because of the pandemic. Actually, some of the I believe it was some of the control panels for the pump stations, they were talking like a 20-week lead time, which they had already placed the order for them, weeks ago. So they were on top of that. But just to give you an idea of what we're talking about for materials, they have a great deal of pipe that's already stored at Public Works. We had allowed them to store that there and get it there ahead of time. So there is quite a bit there. Just reading through some of my notes just to see what else I can hit on here.
Bill, can I ask you one question? Does did you decide at the meeting that the option to send that flow north or south is available, or are we tied to a particular direction?
There could be a change order that would allow that flow to go either north or south. Yes. Yep. So that
the board has to decide, or what?
that would be something that the board would have to decide.
Wastewater commissioners.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
and Nate, as you know, Nate is well aware of that. So I'm sure will be working on some pricing with the contractor.
So that's an important thing for everybody to keep in mind going forward.
Yes, absolutely. There was a lot of discussion about the fact that we want to make sure that Nitram sends out notification to residents and businesses along the route to communicate the project activity, the schedule, and provide contact information. There will be the operations manager or the president of the company will be on site pretty much on a daily basis to handle any complaints from residents, businesses, that sort of thing. There still needs to be a meeting held with the contractor or the engineers and MDOT about traffic shutdowns and the like. One lane has to be open at all times during the project. So that's one of the reasons that they need to speak, and they'll be working probably simultaneously on two different ends of the project so that they can get it done as quickly as possible. So DOT has some restrictions as to how the length between one lane closures and the like. So that's why that meeting has to happen. I think that's basically it on that. I do want to highlight the fact that Megan had applied for a $50,000 loan forgiveness through the Clean Water State Revolving Fund and was granted that. She did that over the last month or so. So 50,000 is 50,000. It's another 50,000 off the project that the town doesn't have to pay for, or the users don't have to pay for. So I did want to highlight that for my report, my written report. Any other questions about the wastewater project on Route 1 before I move on to another topic? Okay. The vault, just to wrap up some other things, the vault fire suppression system has been approved for install at the town office. So I've done that last week. I don't have a timing yet for when that may happen, but we've got that approved. That's part of the infrastructure bond. Also infrastructure bond. If you've been out on Old Rockland Street, you'll notice that the binder layer of pavement was placed. The next steps were for Maine Water to do their work with raising shutoffs, which they've been working on. We are still waiting for poles to be moved. And then the next step for the contractor is to construct the sidewalk, then do final surface coat, match driveways in, lawns, that type of thing. So, but the heavy lifting of that project is complete, which is a good thing. And that was again in the infrastructure bond as well. Wanted to report to the board that Megan also put in a claim with the state for unclaimed property that was on their own unclaimed property list this spring. The town received a check back for $12,630 and change from unclaimed property. So that's always a plus. Last week, as you know, I sent out the new COVID protocols based on the governor's executive order and the CDC guidelines, just to let everybody know that might be watching. Basically, all of the restrictions have been lifted on the number of people in town buildings. Also, the mask requirement has been lifted, basically for everyone. We do recommend, if people have not been fully vaccinated, to wear masks to protect themselves, but they are not required. And boards and committees can meet in person as of today, should they wish. They do have to decide whether it's by Zoom or in person. They can do Zoom through the state of emergency, which is around the middle of June, is still in place, and whether that gets reinstituted again for another 30 days or not will remain to be seen. But at this point, Diane has been contacting, my executive assistant has been contacting committee chairs to find out whether they want to meet in person or not, and getting things scheduled and lined up with that. So we're working through that as quickly as we possibly can. I will say also that I had a discussion with the Opera House manager today, and he's been booking fast and furious at the Opera House. He has, I think, something like 12 events booked at the Opera House so far, as of letting him know last week that we would be open and ready to go. And he expects to have many more. There are all kinds of different things he's booked, from music acts to a magician to a comedian to anniversary parties, things like that. So that's definitely looking up. Any questions?
On the entire report?
On anything, yes, absolutely.
I would just like to note for the public that the congratulations to the employees. Laura Poole, 5 years, Keith Drago, 5 years, Linda Greenlaw, 25 years, and Diane Hamilton, 5 years. So thanks to those employees for the years of dedicated service. Anybody have any questions? Okay, next on the agenda is public input on non-agenda items. Do you have anything, Bill?
Let me just check my email quickly. I do not.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Amendments to the agenda. Action item B on there, is that just a typo?
No, that was, I mean, we added that on, so I put it as an amendment. That was act on the appointment of the interim town manager after after it was published.
After it was published, okay. Okay, any other amendments? Hearing none. On to the consent agenda.
I'll move the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, roll call. Michelle.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay, on to action items. The first is act on authorization for donor-funded library landscaping project. And Doug Cole is here with us today. And Bill, would you like to do the introduction to it?
Yeah, I certainly can do that. The stream, as part of the library landscaping contract, the stream side of the library was to be planted in a terraced manner, as probably you're all well aware. Once the construction of the building was complete and the landscaping contractor started on the stream side, it became apparent that landscaping plan that was drawn up by the landscape architect just wasn't feasible. And so we had to punt, if you will, and we eliminated a couple of features and installed some boulder terraced walls because of the steep slope that's there at that side of the building. Since then, and this is where Doug will come in, but a donor has come forward to provide some funding to address the landscaping on that side of the building. And I think with that, I'll just turn it over to Doug.
Good. Thank you, Bill. Yes, so I'm here again tonight on behalf of the Parks Committee and also representing this donor. I think Bill did a good job at the introduction. The donor actually wants to pay for the entire cost of the remediation, not just a part of it. I won't go too much into the background, but it was a little more complicated than I think Bill reports. There were actually some engineering issues, some architectural issues. The landscape architect plan was really not very good, and winter was closing in. And I want to thank Bill for actually putting forward $21,000 of town money to stabilize the slope before for the weather really set in. So at any rate, as Bill said, we had a plan, but we simply weren't able to execute it. We did what we could, but what we're left with now is really that sort of a wart on the stream side of the library. And multiple people have commented on it, but again, there wasn't much we could really do about it until this donor stepped forward and said she'd be willing to cover their remediation. So we've sort of come up with a plan, and let me just go over that very briefly. The first thing we wanted to do, and we've actually done this part already, is had Gartley and Dorsey come and do a complete set of as-built drawings. Because it is a technically difficult area, we wanted to use Gartley and Dorsey because they're familiar with the site and they also work with the town a lot, so we had confidence in their ability. And so they came up with a set of drawings that shows us exactly what we have there right now. That data from their survey will then be sent down to TJD and Associates, who are a landscape architect firm down in Yarmouth. And I think many of you will remember Terry Dewan. He was involved very, very early on in the library project. He actually did the preliminary design work for that intersection that we have now. And the donor and Parks Committee felt that it would be good to switch to a different landscape architect to move forward with this project. So Terry Dewan is going to be putting together sort of a series of designs, different ideas, conceptual designs. And once those designs are done, then we would bring those to the select board for the town's approval. And they would also obviously go to the donor for her approval. And if everybody's on the same page, those designs would then be sent out to a local landscaper to get estimates, get some idea of the cost for the donor, and the work we would hope would start in the fall. So what we are hoping to get from the select board tonight is, first of all, approval to kind of move ahead with this plan that I just outlined. And also to use the town as a conduit for the donors' money to pay the various contractors. And Bill and the foundation had sort of talked this over, and it was Bill's recommendation that it's probably best to just go directly through the town with this. So it wouldn't cost really the town anything except perhaps a little bit of administrative expense. And I think it's a great opportunity to really put the finishing touches on the library landscaping. So that's it. If I take any questions. Don't all speak at once.
I move the board authorize donor-funded design and engineering for the library street side landscaping.
Second.
Michelle?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, discussion?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's my fault. No discussion. Okay, Michelle? Yes.
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
I vote yes. That was easy, Doug.
Okay, before I leave, I'd like to thank Bill Post for his service to the town. It was a pleasure working with him. And I also want to thank Deborah and Jeff. It was a lot of fun, good long ride. So that was good. Mark, not so much, but we'll always have the Trans-Labrador Highway, Mark. Thank you very much, folks.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, the next item on the agenda is act on appointment of interim town manager. So I think this is obvious. Bill's last day is this Thursday, May 27th. And I guess we can have a motion and a second, and then we can have a discussion if we wish for the interim town manager.
I'd make the motion. I don't have the language in front of me, so.
Okay.
It would just be to appoint whoever as interim town manager until effective May 28th until July 5th.
Go, Michelle, go.
What's that? Well, Deborah, do you want to make the motion and I'll second it?
Who are we? Who do you want to?
Well,
Okay,
I think that's the,
fine. I will make a motion to appoint Carrie Leichman as the interim town manager effective May 28th until July 5th.
and I'll second that motion.
Is there discussion? Okay, roll call. Michelle,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, thanks everybody. The last item is except for liaison reports, is a discussion item on the town manager's transition document. So Bill, thank you for getting us this transition document. And I think that, you know, comments with respect to any gaps, holes, difference of opinion in terms of prioritization or anything, have at it.
Yeah, and I just want to start off, that's okay. I just want to start off by saying that, you know, there'll be updates to this document until the 25th. So there may be additions of items that, you know, that get added that come up that I haven't put on there, or there'll be updates as to things that are, you know, that have moved or progressed, if you will, so that there's information there. And I think it's also important that I'll be reviewing this with the incoming town manager probably tomorrow. So, you know, so you're well aware of that, so that I can, you know, brief him on that and at least have him ask questions and give a lot more detail than what's actually written on the document. So I wanted to lay that out for you. But I certainly will take any questions, or if you disagree with a priority, or, whatever it is, or if I've missed something, which I may certainly have. And again, keep in mind, as I said at the last meeting, that there's another document that's not really a transition table necessarily, but it's for the interim manager with things like contracts that need to be signed over the next 40 days or so, and things like that, so that those items may not all get finished before the new manager starts, but at least there'll be some guidance there as well.
And I would just add that, as I did with Bill before he came on board when I was the chair, and I'm sure that the interim town manager too will be vigilant about sending on to Jonathan. I've already sent on a couple of things, just items that he needs to be aware of and be copied on, so that he's not hit cold by those. So, does anybody have any any gaps or comments or anything on the document? Knowing that it's somewhat of an evolving document, as Bill says. Bill, I'll just say that I thought that you captured the items well, and that, certainly agree with the way in which you've prioritized them from my standpoint. I know that I think the one that we had before when you came on board was probably more comprehensive, but I think that had more items listed. I won't say it's more comprehensive, had more items listed, but that could be for a variety of reasons. One could be that you've gotten a lot of things done, which you certainly have. And another could just be too, that I think we tended to list on that document maybe some of the longer-term issues, and you didn't not necessarily maybe include as many of those as we had. But anyway, I think that you've done a good job with what needs to be done.
Yeah, I didn't have any questions or concerns, and I appreciate the detail. I think it's was a good it's a good document to keep us on task.
Same here. I mean, there was nothing, there might have been some smaller nitpicking things, but I think in all, Bill, you've touched on a lot of the bigger ones. And obviously, after our earlier meeting today, there'll be an adjustment, I suspect.
Okay. It sounds like that's it. And I would just like to echo Doug's comments. Bill, thank you for your service to the town, and it's been appreciated, and it's been a pleasure working with you.
I appreciate that, Deborah.
All right.
Yes, thank you, Bill.
Yes, thank you, and good luck.
Taking ice cream Friday.
I'll be at a Sea Dogs game Friday night. So.
All right. Great. Okay. Does anybody have any select board liaison reports they want to do? Jeff?
Real quick, I'll let Michelle cover the comprehensive plan committee situation, but on the harbor committee last week, a bunch of work was done on the comp plan, and also an announcement, if you haven't seen or heard, but ABC's Good Morning America is going to be in Rockport Harbor on Wednesday, 26th. To film a segment featuring Sadie Samuels and Must Be Nice Lobster, and that will air Thursday, May 27th at 8 o'clock on ABC.
Wonderful.
That's great.
Yep. Okay, thanks. That's it, Jeff. Moving to Michelle.
Yes, so comprehensive plan committee, we had a long meeting, I guess it was last Tuesday, discussing a logo and other things. We have had several resignations from that committee over the last couple of days. So, certainly we'll be looking for more folks for that committee. Certainly some great people, Richard and Sally and Bob Duke, who all have contributed greatly. So we certainly will miss them, and we will look forward to anyone else in the community that is interested in serving on a very thoughtful committee to help us really shape the future of Rockport in the coming years. So I think that is the only committee that has met since the last time we met that I have an update for.
If we could, guys, I think we should post for those 3 positions as quickly as we can.
I completely agree. We do need to fill those.
Okay, Mark?
I do know that conservation and Parks and Beautification will be glad to get back together. Parks and Beautification talked about what we heard earlier from Doug. That was a primary part of the conversation of the whole meeting last time. Little bits and pieces of other stuff, but it's all coming together thanks to Doug and the crowd and Annie and the rest of them. But that's it.
Okay, are you done, Mark?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I'll just say that on the broadband issues, as you recall, the board had approved sending a letter to the county requesting that they invest ARP funds into regional broadband efforts, and the Treasury guidance that came out is not as favorable as we would hope it to be. So we've been working with the Institute of Local Self-Reliance and some others to try to, that was interim Treasury guidance, to improve the language in that. We had I was asked to be a part of a White House meeting today, and we did do that and met with a couple of folks from the White House, expressed our concerns about it. And so we'll see where that goes. I think that final guidance is probably, I know that people can get in their comments on interim guidance until July 16th, I believe. So, although they should do it earlier. So I think that we probably won't see, we obviously won't see final guidance from Treasury on the ARP funds until after that date, obviously. And Midco Solid Waste has not met. That's it. Okay, that's it with Select Board Liaison reports. So we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I motion we adjourn.
Let me second that. Is there any discussion?
Deborah, let me thank you for your efforts. You have been dogged in your advancement in making Rockport better. Contrary to popular belief, I can say some nice things. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. And thank you to Jeff. Certainly my first
Oh,
year
yeah.
learning the ropes. So appreciate your guidance and certainly all of the work. It's definitely not an easy job. So thank you both for your time.
Thanks.
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the
As
kind
Doug-
words. And Bill, thank you again for your service.
And Mark, are you trying to say something?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, as Doug would say to me, thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, again, thanks, Bill.
Well,
Okay.
and I want to say thank you to everyone too for the support. I know I put it in my manager's report, but I do really appreciate it. This job is not an easy one, but it helps when you have dedicated select board members that really care about the town. And I know it's a thankless job that you have, and you choose to do it, which says a lot about who you are as people. So I appreciate what you do and what you've done, and I look forward to reading about Rockport in the newspapers.
All good things. All good things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Bill.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
All right.